Jyl. Thank you for being willing to take part in this interview.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions to you regarding TTouch and your adventure with TTouch in general. So, the first question I have is when and how did you discover TTouch?
Okay, so I don't exactly remember the year, but it's probably about 10 years ago. I'm thinking it's about 10 years ago. And at the time, I had a very challenging dog. She had physical disabilities. She was missing an eye. She was very reactive to other dogs, aggressive to other dogs. And do you want that? Thank you. And so I was already a dog trainer. So the guy that I was mentoring with, my trainer, he said, oh, I don't do this stuff because it's very, you know, it's something else, but you would like this TTouch stuff. So you should go see this woman, Linda Tellington Jones. Why don't you guys go that way? Go over there. Now they all want to be part of it.
Oh yeah, another one is coming.
Yeah. So he said, you should see what this stuff is because you'd probably like it and you'll be good at it. Okay, so a couple of friends and I went. And I was just going for 3 days or 2 days maybe. It was just a real quick training that Linda Tellington Jones was doing. And right at that time, we had a number of cats, and one of my cats...
I told you they wanted to
I know,
be famous.
I know. One of my cats was also disabled, and she couldn't use her hind legs. And so she quit using the litter box. We had 4 cats at the time, but we knew she was the one that wasn't using the litter box. She'd go right outside of it. I thought, what a pain in the neck, and smelly too. So I went to this training just to see what this TTouch stuff was because I didn't know what it was. And I'm looking at the books, you know, so she's got like TTouch for dogs and TTouch for cats. And I thought, oh, TTouch for cats. Maybe this will give me a way to have my cat go in the litter box. I don't know. So I went to the training and she talked about some stuff and she showed us, you know, how to do the basic touches and she showed us wraps. And at that time we didn't have really fancy harnesses. Yes. So we were doing all these things with ropes and it was a very quick training. It was just a few days. So we didn't learn all, you know, everything. We just kind of like, it was an introduction. But I took the cat book home.
Not easy.
They're well trained, aren't they?
Of course. That's how they show how much they love TTouch.
They do, actually.
They just got attracted by it.
So I took the book home and I thought, okay, Pixie, little dog, silly. I took the book home and it said to do these ear touches and to do heart hug and belly lift. And I thought, I don't know what this stuff is, and I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm taking, okay, I'll do this on the ears. Okay, I don't know what that's going to do. All right, I'm going to do this on the chest. Okay, lift. I don't know what a belly lift is. Okay, I'll do this, whatever. 5 minutes, did it. So this was a cat who was not feral, but she liked other cats. She hung out, but she didn't sit with us.
Yes.
She'd put up with us. She'd come into the house when it was time to eat. That's really all she wanted to do. So I did it for like 5 minutes. And then the next day, before I went to the training, I did it again in the morning, 5 minutes. I got home, I did it for 5 minutes. So I did it maybe 3 or 4 times, just very short periods of time, just from reading the book, because I didn't talk to Linda or anything. I mean, to me, she was like some famous person. I'm not going to talk to her. What do I know? So I did that, and I came home that Sunday night. So my part, you know, what I was doing was, with the training was over Sunday night, and I was sitting in the bedroom, which is inside the house. And the cat usually sat outside on the porch.
Yes.
So I'm sitting like, you know, on the bed reading or something. And this cat who couldn't walk properly, she hopped. She comes hopping into the bedroom, and she hops up on the bed, and she gets on my chest, and she starts making biscuits.
Okay.
I thought, well, this is weird. She's never done that. We've had her for 6 years. She's never done that. Not only that, my husband came in and said, did you just put the cat on your chest? I said, no, she came in here herself. Not only that, she was using the litter box. And I thought, okay, I have no idea what this thing just did, But this cat, who doesn't seem to care about people, just came in and asked me to do something with her, and she's using her litter box.
Exactly.
I couldn't explain it, but I said, I don't know what TTouch is, but whatever it is, it works, because I have no explanation for this. Because I had held that cat every day. I'd pick her up and love on her every day, so she knew people were okay, and she was like, yeah, all right, you can put me down now.
Yeah, exactly. So she didn't really like petting, like
she didn't
like stroking.
She would put up with it. She was like, okay, you can pet me, okay. But the TTouch, and just for 5 minutes, just a little bit here, a little bit there.
So like, but in the beginning, like how did she react to TTouch?
She just thought, okay. She was like, all right, I don't know what you're doing, but okay. So she would just sit there like she did when I petted her. She would just kind of sit there, and then I'd put her down.
Oh, nice.
And she, you know, I mean, she was a sweet cat. She just didn't know that people had any value. So, you know, her relationship was with the other cats in the house.
Exactly. Wow.
And then after that, and she was, you know, she always had issues, but we didn't have potty issues after that. And I knew I could take her and, you know, TTouch her anytime, and she was comfortable with it. You know, more probably than just being petted.
Yeah. Wow. This is like, I love it.
That was kind of like, whoa, I don't know what's going on, but this stuff is kind of amazing.
Yes. And that made you want to find out more about TTouch.
After that, I just thought, this is, you know, as a dog trainer, if this can help with a cat, I don't know what it can do with dogs.
Exactly.
But I need to see. And the dog, the reason that I'd done it, this dog was so fearful and so reactive, and all of the stuff that they showed us for the training, Pixie, you have no interest in the toy until we use it. You don't like this toy, and suddenly you do. Yeah, so that dog we used, so I created at the place that I was training, along with another girl who had attended the same training, and one of the other trainers there, I attended, or we created a class specifically for fearful dogs.
Oh, nice.
And incorporated all the TTouch elements, so groundwork and the touches themselves and wraps, all that stuff in with our training. And the more training I did, the more TTouch we used. So the more I started doing puppy classes, like, ooh, we can use this for puppies. This is great. What else can we use this for? So it just came in very handy pretty much for anything that I was doing.
Exactly. So that's, yeah, it actually, that's my next question. How did the approach to dog training change? Your dog approach to dog training change after?
So I learned to train dogs from a person his concept behind dog training was that you have to have an emotional relationship with your dog. That's where it's based in. And he was a big guy. He was, you know, 6'2", 6'2", and big red hair, real cowboy, but sweet as could be, and really understood dogs, but very different from me. And so I liked the concept of the relationship. To me, that's how you need to work with your dogs. But over time, there were things that I learned that I thought, you know, there's got to be a softer way to do things. There has to be a way to work with your dog where your dog's doing it because your dog loves doing it and because your dog is comfortable in its own body, and not because they're worried that something bad might happen or you might go away or you might be angry or upset. So the more that I did training, even when that guy was still alive and I was working for him, the more I shifted a little bit, so my focus was more, how can we do this so it's the dog's idea? So the dog's doing it, and the dog wants to do it because it's more comfortable in its body. And again, that dog that was the challenge for me, she lived to be 17.
Oh, wow.
So there were years that we worked through all this stuff where, I mean, she still had issues, but she knew that she didn't have to react to other dogs. She could turn around and move away. She was not physically in balance because she had a disability, but she could move comfortably in her own body.
Yeah, exactly.
Which made everything about her life better.
Yes.
So, and everybody that met her thought, oh, what a happy dog. But if they'd known what she was like, you know, before, they probably wouldn't have said that.
Yes, exactly.
So for dogs like that, you know, they're always throwing a party.
So there's many animals around, so we can get easily distracted. Oh, that's nice. So this is definitely like these are two of your successful stories if it comes to using TTouch.
Yeah, just with my personal animals.
Just with yours,
I mean,
yes. And what about others?
So with dogs that I've trained, so I lived in Australia and I worked with, this is one of my favorite ones, I worked with Shar-Pei Rescue. So it was a rescue group. And she got in, I mean, Shar-Peis, especially in Australia, have a bad rap, right? They're known, they're like, they're really not good with other dogs. And
I see.
So, and she would get these dogs from all over the place, and they all skin issues. So all the dogs she got in would need medical attention, and some of them, you know, would need some other attention. Well, she got this one dog in. His name was Monet, after the painter who was blind.
Ah, this one, yeah.
So he had entropion, so the eyelids grow inward and they get infections. It rubs against the cornea.
Yes.
They get ulcerations in their cornea, and it impairs their sight. And his apparently was so bad that they decided, before she even got him, they decided to remove his eyes. So they removed both of the eyes. Of course, he had so much skin you couldn't tell. So they removed both the eyes, so he was totally blind. And then she got him and had him checked out by her vet and found out both of his knees were bad. Okay. And he needed to have surgery for the, you know, for the tendons or whatever on either side of the knee. So we're going to do the worst one first, and then we'll do the other one. So this poor dog had had both of his eyes removed, and he couldn't walk on his back end because his knees were so messed up. So she got the dog and said, all right, we're just going to do the knee just to see if we can get him so he's more mobile. So I went to her house, they did the surgery, and the next day, I was there the next day, and you know, it was all shaved and there were stitches around the knee, and you could feel the heat coming off of that knee. So I couldn't even touch his skin. I was like working kind of above the skin, right where the stitches were, and then as I got further away, then I could do the touches very light with the back of my hand, just very light, just trying to get blood flow and feeling and just get, and so a week after the surgery, she brought the dog back to the vet to have a checkup, and the vet said, oh, the dog looks great for just being 2 weeks or 3 weeks out of surgery. And she said, it's not 2 weeks, it's 7 days or whatever it was. And he said, no, it's not.
Wow.
And she said, no, it is just a week. And he said, there's no way the dog is this much better, because I showed her what to do. And so just do this whenever you can. If you're just sitting with him, instead of just petting him, do this around the surgical site. And the vet couldn't believe it. Wow. And he was up and walking within 2 weeks of having the surgery with no pain. That knee was repaired. She was able to do the other one. The dog was adopted, running on the beach.
Wow. This is just amazing.
And moving like you wouldn't believe. And the vet couldn't believe it.
Wow. This is very, like, this is one of the stories which people like don't believe, especially that, like, in Poland, people, when they, if they ever heard of TTouch, they think that it's a form of a massage, or if they know a little bit more, they think that, okay, it's kind of, you know, it's only about the touch itself, and it somehow tends to improve the behavior.
Right. And there's all kinds of things. So another dog that I had seen, I mean, and I've seen tons of dogs here in the States, but I'm just thinking about this one, because when I was living in Australia, I didn't have a great way of, you know, getting around. I take the train to see people. And there was one family that had a nice dog, I think it was a Kelpie, and would break down the door in thunderstorms, was so scared of thunderstorms, couldn't function. And so I went, we did a few things, and we worked with groundwork and some of the tools that we use, and I showed them how to do a half wrap, very basic half wrap, because they didn't have a thunder shirt. They could have gone and bought one, but I was just take an ace bandage and wrap your dog and try that.
Much easier.
And I don't even know that I gave them anything else to try. I just, you know, showed them the touch and showed them ear work and mouth work and showed them the half wrap. And about, I don't know, the next time there was a storm, whenever it was, they sent me a photograph of the dog wearing a wrap, and they said it works a treat. Wow. So I mean, and that was like, I didn't expect that, because you don't know. I mean, sometimes something works great, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, you know, it's not going to hurt to try it, but I can't guarantee it's going to fix it.
No, of course not.
But it doesn't hurt to try. And so for them, that did the trick. Yes. And they were so happy, and it was an ace bandage, you know? I mean, it was a wrap.
Exactly.
So sometimes you get really good responses. And, you know, for like older dogs, there was an Afghan hound that had very bad proprioception in his back legs. He would drag his feet. He couldn't really, you know, tell where his feet were. And so we did groundwork and some wraps and some stuff around the back legs and moved him through, and he they said for, you know, the next 2 days after doing a session, for the next 2 days, he could actually pick his feet up and move. I mean, he was old and it would come back.
Yes.
You know, it didn't fix it permanently, but for a few days, he was way more aware of where his body was in space.
Exactly.
And so he was more confident and comfortable moving around.
Exactly.
So,
and these are all very simple things you can do with your dog, right?
really easy and cheap.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
you don't have to spend a ton of money. If you've got, you know, a pair of hands and a couple of extra little things that you can just buy at, you know, any store, really, you can do it.
Exactly.
So it's nice.
What are the elements you love in this technique?
Okay, so I can say, so I've been a dog trainer. I've been training dogs for probably about 15 years. And somewhere around, it was the Houston training. So I want to say it was when I came back from Australia. So it was probably like 5 years ago, maybe. I was at a training. I was assisting. So I was at a training. And everybody at the end of trainings, we do these 3-day and 6-day trainings. At the end of the 6-day trainings, usually you go around the circle and everybody that's participating, you say, all right, every day we do it. But at the end of the big trainings, we're like, so what was your big aha, your big take home thing for this week of training? And everybody has their own stories, and usually somebody's crying. So everybody has their own stories.
That's true.
Right?
I confirm.
Yeah. So, and everybody's kind of sharing, and I was sitting there listening to these different stories, and it was in a different town, so not my hometown. And I'm listening to all these stories, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to go back and do my classes and my training. And I thought, my big take home was, I'm really about TTouch. So I used to tell people I'm a dog trainer that does TTouch. But in this training, I realized, you know what? I'm not. I'm a TTouch practitioner that trains dogs, which might not be a big difference to most people. It's like, whatever, it's the same thing. But to me, it made a big difference. And it sort of defined more what I did. Because when I go to classes and I look at the stuff I can do with dogs, so if I'm working with puppies, because I do puppy classes and work with a lot of puppies, oh my gosh, you can teach them about the world. You can, first of all, it's that whole relationship thing. You teach them to move with you, and you're the focus of their attention. And they're comfortable and balanced, which makes them so much better dogs out in the world. And you can enjoy play with them so much more. And so there's so many things that you can do that, that with puppies, that just from the very first moment of doing it with them, you can turn it into a better relationship. With dogs that are fearful, because that's one of my favorite things to do. Just moving them through groundwork, putting wraps on, moving with, you know, lines or ropes. You're working with 2 people on one dog so that they can learn to be comfortable around somebody new. Stuff like that. It's amazing stuff what you can do just from very, very simple work. So, you know, for old dogs, making them more comfortable with the body they're in. Plus, I mean, for dogs that have digestive issues, breathing issues, heart issues. I mean, it's not a medical technique, but it can certainly aid. I know this is not my story, but this is a story that I can verify. So one of the girls here, so in Texas, we have rattlesnakes, right? A lot of them.
I haven't seen one, but I heard.
And you don't need to. And they're just coming out now. This is a bad time to run into them. So one of the girls that I work with, she moved. She used to live in town near me. She moved just outside of town near where the training facility is where we both work. She's on a nice big piece of property. She's got, I think at the time she had 4 dogs. So her dogs are out and she hears some sort of noises, stuff outside, and she goes out. So I guess she had 3 dogs at the time. So her youngest one, who hadn't been trained to stay away from snakes, went in and got bit by the rattlesnake right in the face. Oh my God. And then the other 2 who had been trained to stay away went to her rescue, and they both got bit too. So normally a rattlesnake bites you. It depends upon how old the snake is, how much venom they've, you know, dispensed, and where you get bit. Because if you're bit really close to the heart, you're probably not going to make it. If it's an extremity or somewhere where it's not going to flow straight to the heart, you have a little better chance. Now, in Texas, we also can get rattlesnake vaccines, which won't save your dog, but it can buy you some time. So all 3 dogs had the rattlesnake vaccine. So immediately, because she's a TTouch practitioner, she calls the vet, says, my dogs were bit by a rattlesnake. She saw the snake. My dogs were bit by a rattlesnake. We're coming in now. They throw all 3 dogs in the car, and she immediately starts working their ears, working their ears, working their ears. You know, I guess one hand on one ear, one hand on the other.
I don't know how she did it, but
all 3 dogs, she's working their ears because she didn't know how bad it was going to be.
And she was alone, or
her husband was home, so he's driving and she's working the dogs.
Okay, I see.
They get to the vet. It probably took her 15-20 minutes to get to the vet. The vet had anti-venom, but all 3 dogs survived because working the ears kept them out of shock and kept their heart rate so that the venom wouldn't go to the heart. So absolutely, she said if she hadn't been able to do that, she doesn't think all 3 would have survived.
Wow.
So, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that this comes in handy for that, you know, hopefully you don't have to use it.
Yes.
But if you do, it's right here.
Exactly.
You got it.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's very simple. So this is something.
And you don't have to be an expert. That's the other thing. She's a practitioner.
Yeah.
But anybody can do ear work. Anybody can do lifts. Yes. Anybody can do this stuff.
Yes, that's why I also created a separate video where I explain how to do e-work, and I also explain how how it can help and how to do it properly so people can try. And actually, I also got I've received some feedback from people who tried it, and they said yeah, it really works to in order when they try to calm their dogs down, you know, before the storm or fireworks, or there are so many ways of using it. So that's just something I love it about. So wow, that's really nice. And I really want you to tell me a little bit more about your plans. Would you have how you want to use TTouch in when working with shelter dogs? And this is really exciting.
So I still do. I train at a facility a couple of days a week where I do classes, but all of my classes are infused with TTouch. Everything I do has some element of TTouch to it, whether it's just the way we train leash walking, or you know, put wraps on to calm them or whatever. I always throw TTouch in. But I do private TTouch classes for people that want to know more. But I'm working with shelters and with some rescue groups, basically because if you can get an animal to be more comfortable in its own skin, being in a shelter is so stressful. Even in rescue, it's stressful. They're not in a familiar environment. You know, some of them fortunately have been taken from kill shelters, so they're going to survive, but you don't know what their history is. You don't know what's happened to them. Some of them have medical issues or whatever. So you can go into a shelter very easily, teach volunteers or staff, look, here are some very simple things you can do that's going to make the dog more comfortable. And if the dog is more comfortable and confident, so much more adoptable. There's a dog that's going to look and go, hey, take me home. I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
So, and for cats, you know, for any animal that's in a shelter, you can just make them more comfortable in their skin, make them more comfortable in their environment, you know, ease the stress. So so I've got a few different, you know, rescue groups that I work with, and a shelter that's just opening. So I'm hoping when they open that we'll go in and, you know, everybody that wants to learn it can learn it. And, you know, it's just something that we're making available. And then, you know, I have friends that, you know, we'd like to bring it to the community where they don't have money to pay for classes, so that, you know, we can just make it a tool that anybody can use. Because again, you don't have to have money to do this. You can just do it.
Yes.
So, yeah. And, you know, everybody, when I have clients or, you know, whatever, I think I shock them because I say, I don't pet my animals anymore. You don't pet your animals? It's like, no. I TTouch them. Everything I do with them is TTouch.
Exactly. Be careful, because when you start it, you know, you can really get addicted to that.
He'll vouch for that.
Oh yes, that's the TTouch dog, right? Oh, beautiful. I really wish that everyone knew this method and you know, that everyone used it, because it's so simple to do, like in most of the cases. So, that's so nice. So thank you, Jyl.
Thank you.
It's really nice that you could share your experience. Jyl hosted me for 2 weeks here in Austin, where we went to Santa Fe for TTouch conference. We spent some time here in Austin doing some training. So thank you, officially thank you for that. And thank you for mentoring me. So Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.